Well, ladies and gentlemen, Giants has done it again. A DLC that I really had no interest in. Thought, this might be the first time I ever feel like it's a waste of money. And you know what? After going through these tractors and seeing what it in the trucks and seeing what the Mercedes truck DLC has to offer, I'm actually pretty impressed. Dang it. They've done it again. One of the things that I said at the end of my stream, for those of you that were watching, I think is what makes this a successful DLC. After playing around with the tractors and the trucks and seeing what they can do, what they look like, it makes me want to play the game more. It makes me want to start a European farm so that I can put this equipment to use because there's a lot of good stuff in here. And so to me, that's a sign of a successful DLC. If it extends out the gameplay and it makes you want to play right away, like I said, I wanted to poo-poo this when I first got it. There's some stuff in here that I'll probably never use, but there's a lot of stuff in here that's very useful and that I probably will use. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to start off with what I think are probably what most farmers are interested in, and that is the tractor selection. We have four tractors to pick from. This is two examples of the first one. This is the second size up tractor. This is the third size tractor, and then we have the largest tractor. And they range from, I think this one's as low as 65 horsepower, this little guy. This is a 90 horsepower turbo version. And then it goes all the way up to 180 horsepower for the big MB track. So they're not big monster tractors. They're definitely going to be good on small European farms, Polish maps, stuff like that. Things with smaller fields. You're going to get, you're going to kill yourself if you buy one of these tractors and have to do a huge field. But for tight European roads and small farm fields, these are going to be good tractors. And they have some cool different things. So we have the I think it's the 600 to 900 is what this guy represents. And you can see here I've got there's an anniversary edition paint job that this came with. You can get it also in the base color of the dark green and I guess yellow green. But then they also have like this off color version that's like the champ version. Let's go ahead and hop in. Listen to that. Can you guys hear that good? I'm gonna mute my mic. They nailed it. That is a Mercedes-Benz diesel to a T. I mean, that is the sound of a Mercedes-Benz diesel. So those are the kind of details that I like. Things like on the front here, you can see all the little connectors and everything, very, very detailed. If you look in through the grill, you can see parts of the engine. The lights, of course, all work. And I used to do this in all my videos where we test out the lights. But blinkers, rear lights, bright lights. In the cabin, you have a very nice cabin view, very clean cabin, simple, old school controls. And it does drive, it is a manual transmission tractor, 4-speed. And you can see as you drive, it does shift. So it takes a while to get moving, so you have to be patient when you're running this tractor, just like you do in real life. You're going through the gears to run it. Once again, this only goes up to 90 horsepower, so this is going to be a very small farm tractor, but it is a cute little tractor, and I definitely approve. I'm going to probably use this somewhere. That brings us to the logging variation of the same tractor. You can see here on the back, we have a skid plate. You can have a skidder, so you can pull winch logs out of the woods and drag them, and then push them around using the blade. And then on the front, you can actually looks like you might be able to pick up a log with this. You have to be real careful, but it can scoop under the log and then pop it up and lift it. So that's pretty neat. Obviously, it's got the logging cage with it, comes with it. So that's a neat feature there. And I think that's a pretty cool little logging device. I would definitely buy this version of the tractor if I was going to do any logging because it's affordable. These are not expensive tractors. Next up, probably the most lackluster tractor of the bunch. It doesn't really have or do anything that makes it stand out. This one runs from, I want to say 900 up to, it's got the 1100, so 110 horsepower. So from 90 horsepower to 110, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's a tractor. It's got some weight to it, a little bit more than the other tractor does. This is the original classic paint scheme. That's the only scheme it comes in, by the way, on this tractor. But you can see it's got a little more size to it. So it's a good mid-size tractor. There are a bunch of different wheel combinations for all of these. So you want narrow tires, fat tires, whatever you want to run on them. They have a bunch of different options. No fat dualies though. The only thing I had is like normal size dualies with a second dually on the back, or narrows with dualies, which is what this is running. So the next size up tractor has some interesting features. We move to the I think it's the 1200 to 1500. That's going to be 120 to 150 horsepower. And this tractor is reversible. And you have a back loader. So basically it's a front loader, and it comes with this back loader arm. So this is included in the kit. And you can put your front loader tools on the back of this. But the tractor, wrong device. But the tractor is reversible. So like you see here, we're starting to get a beefier tractor too. So you got a wider cabin. There's more room in here. Once again, we got the classic paint scheme. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to press Shift B. And you're going to see the cabin roll around, rotate around. There you go. And so now I can run the tractor backwards. And I can use the front loader bits to scoop and pick things up. That's pretty sweet. And it uses the engine as the weight on the back. So that's a little bit of a special thing that you can do with this tractor. I've got it with the biggest tires that you can put on it. But that's a pretty sweet tractor. So once again, another cool, unique thing that this is the first one of these back loaders that I've seen in the game that's not a mod. So that's pretty sweet. Moving on to the next size, which is up to 1800. These are the 16 to 1800, which is 160 to 180 horsepower. This is the big tractor. This one I have the smaller sized engine in. But you can see it's a big frame tractor. So even though it's low horsepower, it can work with some of the larger low horsepower implements and hold its own because it's got a lot of weight to it. So it's not necessarily a ton of horsepower, but it's torquey. And it's got some weight behind it. So this is also reversible. I would recommend, like, if you get the Elo mower where it's like that big, this mower, I'll show you. Wait a second here. Like this mower here, this has to run forwards, but it's huge. I'd put this on the front of that Mercedes-Benz tractor. So then, because this could carry it because it's heavy. So you should be able to run that pretty, and maybe put a weight on the back too, but it should be able to push that huge mower. Though the horsepower, the Elo might be too much horsepower. Let's take a look real quick again. How much is it? 180. So it can do it. It can do it. It's going to be close. You could also run some of these backwards though too. So, there's that option also. And there's so many more, and there's just so many options out there. But it gives you the opportunity to run stuff forward or backwards. But that's a nice big tractor, classic Mercedes tractor with huge wheels. And once again, I have the special edition paint job. That tractor also comes. Here's the 180 horsepower intercooled version here. This can come with this paint scheme, the vintage paint scheme. Or silver burst, I think they call it, silver special, something like that. Or the black paint scheme. So it has 3 paint schemes available. Nope, wrong tractor. Sorry. Once again, pretty beefy. That's a nice tractor. Nice heavy tractor. 4 bottom plow, probably. Maybe 3. Once again, though, not huge implements, but decent sized implements. But not huge. Like vintage. Think vintage. Now, next up, probably what I would consider the star of this show are the Unimogs. I've got this one just for fun. They give you a street variant, which I don't, unless you're into like role playing stuff, I don't really know why you'd want this truck, because it's not really farm related. You could use it for doing some logging or maybe use it as a pickup truck, but it's a street, obviously street variant versus this guy, which has got the off-roading wheels. So we have I got 2 of these that are modern. This is the agricultural setup here. I guess I would call this like a forestry setup. They do have a PTO off the front, so you could probably hook up implements. But both of these have the ability to run a plow. You can run a cultivator. I've seen European guys seeding with these before. It is not unrealistic to run a seeder with these. And they have higher horsepower ratings. So the older Unimog goes up, I think, to 280, something like that. 280. Let's take a look real quick. Biggest engine, 240. And then the newer Unimog, which is the downside with the new Unimog, is it's just insanely priced. That to me is like, it's hurtful, but you're looking at about 300,000, but it has 364 horsepower or 354 on the horsepower. And it plows like a 4 bottom plow like there's no tomorrow. So you could use this as a tractor and a farm pickup truck. So the nice thing about these trucks is you could replace a mid-sized tractor on your farm with one of these. Do both farming with it and also do pickup duty where you're towing trailers and that kind of stuff, moving bales around. This is going to be a very useful tractor. Doesn't have any arm options, obviously, but it is kind of a pseudo truck, pseudo tractor. And it's also just cool. I mean, how cool is this? You got this 70s interior with the really awesome, like Aztec paneling. so European. I think this is probably, for me, this is the coolest part of the DLC. I love the Unimog. Always have loved Unimogs. They're great pieces of equipment, and they really, it's cool. Oops. It's going to be useful. I want to get that picked up. Once again, you got all, full lights and everything. Sounds great. That's a big motor. Full lights. I love the way that all the lights really work. When you put the weight on, the bed comes off. And that was the plow I was plowing with. Now, I think that plow is too big for this truck, but for the newer version, it can do it. So yeah, that's the older Unimog. Let's hop into the newer one. Once again, a little less excitement inside, a little more refinement, more of the Mercedes modern truck look inside. But just as powerful off-road. And this truck is definitely a little bit quieter engine, like it's a little bit more refined. But every bit as actually more powerful than the new Unimog. And like I said, we were plowing with it, and it had no issues at all pulling that 4 bottom plow. And I didn't have a weight on the front or anything. It just grabbed it and did it. So you'll be able to use this as a tractor on your farm if you want it on a smaller farm. Definitely. Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. So once again, to me, that's the star of the show. So moving along, there's I guess the not star of the show. I never understood like all people wanting road trucks in this game because you don't really do unless you're playing on larger than 4x maps. There's really no need to have like a long distance truck. So we have this Arcos, our Arox, Arox. That's it. It's available in a 6x4 or whatever, 6x6, 6x4, I think. And it's also available as a 4x4 configuration. It's a road truck. That's all it does. So you hook up a trailer and you pull it. Now, there's lots of trailers in this game, so it's not a bad thing. I'm not complaining or saying it's bad. It's just that I usually eventually end up with one of these on my farm, and it gets used for pulling grain carts and or moving equipment around. If I have a big enough farm, we use it to move the equipment. So this would be like a shorter distance truck, like mid-length trips, like a day trip or whatever, and then 2-day trip. Over here we have the more roadworthy truck, the Actros. This is available with the old Actros L front and the new what the L front. It's growing on me. It's growing on me, but it hasn't completely grown on me. So you can get this one set up like this or like that. It can also come with a second axle in the back, so you get 3 axle instead of 2 axle. Much nicer interior than the Arox. Definitely meant for the road. Plus, you know, holds more fuel and stuff. But anyway, the Arox isn't a bad truck. It's cheaper, that's for sure. But this is that Euro truck style. And then we have finally of the hauling trucks like this, where you just all they do is pull trailers. We have the Heisemat, which is it's still a Mercedes, but it's been converted by Heisemat. The Heise truck. It's basically an agricultural truck, really designed, I think, for since it's a Heise truck and they make stuff for like wood chipping and stuff like that. Probably more of a forestry type thing, but you could definitely also use this for agriculture. It's going to be similar to our old. You guys remember the DAF truck? It was also, what was the name that came under? Man also made one. We had one in Farm Sim 15. The Tatra Phoenix, that's what I'm thinking of. Same idea. Probably 4x4, or at least all-wheel drive. Heavy-duty construction, diamond plate, metal over the where the fifth wheel is to protect the truck. Just some advanced features to make the truck heavy-duty and used for off-roading because it's got the special tires, that kind of stuff. Once again, purely role play. The trucks all do okay off-road, but if you want to role play it a little bit, this truck allows you to pretend like you're a forester or maybe pulling a grain cart. One thing that makes me really mad about this truck that look at the back camera actually works. Look at that. See that down on the screen down there? Why don't we have implement cameras that work yet in the game? This is an implement camera. You tie your seater to the back of the truck and you can see what it's doing. But no, we don't get that. But there it is right there. It's working. Put it in the game. Jeez, oh Pete. Anyway, that's my beef. They showed it can be done just now. Why don't we have it? 20 years later, we still don't have it. Anyway, moving right along. We've got 3 Hooklift trucks, and I've put 3 different... There's 4 different Hooklift trailers. 2 of them look the same. There's this one and one that looks exactly the same, but it's green. And then we have like the Flegel tipper. These will be definitely used on my European map. What we have again? We have the Actros L version here, and then we have the What the L version over here. Same difference, same cabin, everything's the same. The outside just looks weird, but this is a road hook lift. Cool truck though. I like those signals, very modern looking. This thing looks like a Renault T. It's like Mercedes saw the Renault T and they copied it exactly. But I can see using one of these on the farm. Probably bang for the buck if I'm going to buy this kind of truck for my farm. It's not going to be a fancy, prissy road truck. I'm probably going to go for the 8x8. Why? Because this is definitely going to be more aimed towards agriculture. So here's where the Aerox becomes a really good farming truck. This is going to be my grain mover, and it's got that like the eight or 4-wheel steering. Yeah, this is going to be a perfect truck for the farm. Because I feel like the other ones are just too fancy. Like, this is designed to take a beating. These are designed to be on the road all the time. So I don't know that I would really use this as a farm truck. Maybe. I mean, definitely transporting goods, but it just seems like overkill. I'd rather put a box on the back of this and move product, and then use the other truck for grain. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. In Europe, once again, they have different things that they do. So this may end up being that type of truck. To me, it just looks a little bit prissy for doing like heavy construction or farming work. This seems more like it's more like for delivering products to like Argos or whatever, you know, like I don't know. That's just me. This looks much more like it's ready to do some farm or off-road construction type work. And that would be a good choice right there. So this is probably going to end up on one of my farms. But that's the trucks and the tippers. So, I mean, that's all the equipment in the pack. 17 pieces of equipment altogether. One thing we haven't really discussed is the price. Now, I'm not sure. You know, we were joking around on my stream about it being turfs that made it more expensive. I think probably what it is that it's got the Mercedes-Benz name on it. They probably had to pay some licensing extra fees for that. And that means that we end up having to eat some of that fee, making the DLC more expensive because every other DLC that's come out has been $9.99. However, it could be world economy, market, stuff like that. Who knows? But for some reason, they're asking $13 for this DLC. And there's been DLCs in the past where it's been over $10. Not fancy ones, but like I think the Big Bud pack when it came out was 11 something. So it's not the first time that they've gone over that like pretty cheap market, and it's now moving into like getting expensive. But I want to point out to you again, and I know some of you guys are young, you don't have money, or you're broke like me and you don't have money. And so it becomes a harder issue because it's like it doesn't matter what if it. But then again, if it was $9 or $10 or $12, what is it? If you don't have money to get it, what does it matter what it costs? It's still expensive. So I guess that it's a hard argument. But the point is this: for $12.99, I went to get lunch today, and I got a hamburger and tater tots and a drink, and it was $14. Now I'm going to pay $13 for this, and I probably will use 4 or 5 of the things out of this pack, maybe more, and get hours of gameplay out of it. So that's the way that I try to look at these expenses. If this was like $60 or $70, no way. If you know, and that's why I never buy, like, very rarely do I buy DLCs for Train Sim, because they want 30-40 bucks for their DLCs. Forget it. You know, unless it's something really special, I won't buy it. But this at 12.99, it's still not that expensive, but it does make you kind of scratch your head and go, am I going to really, you really got to think about, am I going to use this? Is this stuff that interests me? Is it something that's going to apply to my life? So I think this one's they've made it a little harder for this to be an absolute yes. But I still, to be honest with you, I was kind of shocked at how much I actually like it. I thought, whatever, Mercedes Benz. But that's not the case. I'm actually like, wow, this actually makes me want to start a small farm and get out there and start, you know, like plowing fields with the little tractors and getting everything set up. So that's a great thing. I think that they did a good job there. Once again, like I said at the beginning of the video, if a DLC gets you excited about playing the game again, that's a good thing, and they've done a good job. And I think they've definitely done that here. They've made some cool equipment that I am interested in, and it makes me want to play the game more. And that's what a DLC should do. So I think in this case it is worth it. But that has to be up to you. You do have to have an interest in European farms, because these are not tractors that we see in the United States. Occasionally you'll see a Unimog, but it's pretty rare. And those 8x8 trucks, never. The Actros, never. It's so rare. I don't know. There's probably like 10 Actroses in the United States. They're just, nobody uses cab overs here. So, then not for whatever reason, it's not about what's better or what's not better. Just we don't. So we use old farm trucks in general. They use international Transtars that are like 40 years old because they can't afford to buy new trucks. So, so yeah. So I think this is a good pack. It did surprise me how much more I liked it than I thought I would. So anyway, if you guys have found this video useful, please buy me a coffee. That does help us keep the channel around. It's like I live in a camper, as most of you know. So things break because I have to tear down my setup every night when I go to bed. I can't leave it set up or the baby will step on stuff, and there's no room in here. So I have to pack everything up in a little backpack and put it away. Well, that means that things wear out. So I've got to replace cables. I've got to replace, my wife just broke her button box. Stuff gets broken. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever like been to that church where they don't have their own building and they got to set up their equipment every Sunday, like to do music. How often does the cables break? I mean, how often do the speak? It's the same thing. When you're tearing down and setting stuff up all the time, it breaks. It puts much more wear on it. Anyway, that coffee helps us. Also, if you subscribe, hopefully you guys are subscribing to the channel. If you do, please make sure to click the bell. There's a drop down when you subscribe. If you pick the bell, it'll notify you anytime when we put a new video out. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely am looking forward to using this equipment, and I think it's a great DLC. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you next time. Have a great night. Bye.